All day, every day. Gold FM, 93 or 93.2, island-wide.
A very good afternoon. This is Avinindra Som and you're listening to the news in detail on Gold FM.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
All fuel prices increased. Global oil prices dip. G7 won't release emergency oil just yet. Union action delaying power restoration. Navy intercepts suspected drug smuggling boat. Taxidermy replica of revered Nadangamwe Rajataska revealed. Trump yet to decide whether to end Iran war. Cuba could face US-friendly takeover, says Trump.
The top story on Gold FM.
Long queues formed outside filling stations again last night, and this time it's not because of fears of a shortage. The queues were prompted by an announcement from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation that it would increase prices effective midnight, with the Lanka Indian Oil Company saying that they would follow suit. Under the new pricing, Octane 92 petrol, previously priced at rupees 293, increased by rupees 24 to rupees 317. Octane 95 petrol increased by rupees 25 to rupees 365, up from rupees 340. Auto diesel, which costed 281 rupees, saw a price hike of 22 rupees to reach 303 rupees. Super diesel also increased by 24 rupees, pricing from 329 rupees to 353 rupees. Kerosene prices increased by 13 rupees, raising the price from 182 rupees to 195 rupees.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe expects the International Monetary Fund's Executive Board to approve both the 5th and 6th review under the Extended Fund Facility to Sri Lanka by May. He said this during an interview with Bloomberg on the sidelines of the Asia in 2050 conference.
Now the fifth review was supposed to be completed in December, but we had this climate change cyclone which had an impact in the economy. As a result, this was postponed. And what we are hoping now is to negotiation the IMF to complete and combine fifth review and sixth review together, and most probably somewhere in May we should be able to go to the executive board of the IMF and get the approval for both review together. So we catch up the time and get the disbursement and also move forward with this very important Extended Fund Facility with the IMF as a key pillar of the economic stability, macroeconomic stability, and also growth.
When quizzed on the possibility of certain targets set for Sri Lanka under the program to be revised by taking the Middle Eastern tensions into account, this is what he had to say.
I'm sure because basically there's enough flexibility for us to negotiate for the current circumstances and the outlook. So what we think now compared to last year December outlook we had seen is different. Firstly, domestic impact on the cyclone, and secondly the global impact on the external demand. With those two, obviously we negotiate and discuss with the IMF how best we can accurately predict the outlook, and as a result we need to revise some of the targets. And we are in the process of that negotiation. End of this month we are expecting submission will be in Sri Lanka to complete those two reviews together, and with that flexibility we will be able to continue the program with some flexibility for us to be able to achieve those targets.
A barrel of crude is above $100 for the first time since the Russia-Ukraine war began in 2022 as of last evening. However, the central bank governor expressed confidence in managing these external shocks. The governor expressed his views before the fuel price hike last night.
From our point of view, I think oil obviously as oil importing country, there's a significant impact through high oil prices to inflation as well as balance of payment. But from the inflation point of view, we are right now at good position where current inflation in the last month was 1.6% compared to 5% the target that central bank has to deliver. There's a significant good space for us to be able to absorb that kind of price shock into domestic inflation. That's where we are in a much better position. I don't have a kind of threshold saying that this is the level, but we are well prepared compared to where we were in the past. For example, in crisis we had 70% inflation. If that came in that kind of situation, we are in a difficult situation. But compared to 5% inflation, 1.6 good space for us to absorb that shock, but still it will have an adverse implication. A small economy like us relying on imported oil, but I think we can manage that because we have built buffers.
Power outages struck several areas in Colombo and Gamba today as electrical unions launched a symbolic strike. Union representatives warned that restoring power to the affected regions will take considerable time. Meanwhile, directors of the newly formed companies established following the liquidation of the Ceylon Electricity Board entered discussions with the striking union members at the board headquarters. 24 unions initiated the 24-hour symbolic strike yesterday afternoon to protest 8 key issues, including the failure to provide formal appointment letters during the transition to 6 new entities. National Employees Union Secretary Ajit Devapriya stated that workers intend to withdraw from all services tomorrow if authorities fail to address their grievances by the time the current action concludes. This industrial action coincides with the ongoing public consultations in the Ampara district regarding a proposed 13.56% increase in electricity tariffs by the public, reportedly expressed. Even though the Ceylon Electricity Board operations were ceased today, a problem remains in the absence of power purchase agreements. This concern was raised by energy expert Dr. Vidura Alapanava.
NSO and all the power plants require power purchase agreements. Now, all the private power companies have power purchase agreements with CEB, which are transferred to NSO, but each CEB entity, like the Noracholi coal plant, hydro plants, Palanetisa power plant, were expected to have power purchase agreements with the NSO so that NSO can pay them the correct amounts of money as per the agreement. Now, these PPAs are yet to be signed. Then, NSO also has to pay the transmission company for their transmission services. So there has to be an agreement between the NSO and the transmission company, which is also not in place. Now the electricity sector, the entities that collect money from us as consumers are the distribution companies, LECO and the 4 distribution divisions of CB. Now they need to have an agreement with the NSO because they buy electricity from the NSO, buys generation electricity from the generators and sells it to the distribution company. So there has to be power sales agreements between distribution companies and NSO. These are also not in place. Only entity that has agreement is LECO with the CEB, which now is translated to NSO. Similar to the agreement in NSO, all the distribution companies also has to have agreements. Unfortunately, even this basic thing has not been put in place. So when I asked how they are going to manage it, I was told that they are going to do temporary cash flow agreements, which is a really poor show because the drafts of these power purchase agreements have been already done by external consultants. I believe it was PwC way back in 2024 fall when the current government came into power. But they have not been able to finalize it and put them in place, even though 1.5 years have gone. My worry is that we haven't done sufficient due diligence. What we are talking about is restructuring a $2 billion entity. It's almost $2 billion. And we have such a big company being restructured without having proper legal frameworks put in place is scary, simply to put.
The price hike comes just 10 days after a previous increase and contradicts recent government statements promising no immediate changes due to sufficient national stocks. Corporation Chairman DJ Rajakaruna previously assured the public that reserves remain adequate for at least 1 month. This domestic surge occurs despite global Brent crude oil prices dipping to $92.97 per barrel, following a brief peak above the $100 mark. Transport sectors reacted sharply to the rising costs in the meantime. Private Bus Owners Association President Gamino Vijay Rotner stated that his members will meet today to decide on a fare hike. though National Transport Commission Director General Nilan Miranda maintains that no fare increase will be authorized at this time. In the meantime, in such a backdrop, All Island School Children's Transport Association President Lalit Chandra Siri announced a 5% increase in school van fees, while three-wheeler unions remain divided on whether to raise the initial kilometre rates.
Now for some news in brief.
The Department of Meteorology forecasted showers in the northern province and in Trincomalee and Anuradhapura districts, with afternoon thunder showers possible in Sabaragamu, Kandy and Nuwara, while mainly dry weather elsewhere across the country.
The business news on Gold FM.
Gold prices climbed today as a weakening dollar and a falling energy cost bolstered the appeal of precious metal. Spot gold rose 0.8% to $5,179.52 pounds following statements from US President Donald Trump suggesting an end to the Middle Eastern war. Market analysis notes that de-escalation could lower inflation expectations, potentially reducing the need for central banks to hike interest rates. Global benchmark Brent crude is currently trading at around $93.87 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude also saw a decline, now trading at around $89.82 a barrel. The fall follows speculation that G7 nations will release 300 million barrels of emergency stockpiles to counter supply shortages. There was a broad agreement among the group of 7 finance ministers on Monday not to release strategic oil reserves just yet, a G7 official said. G7 finance ministers held a teleconference early on Monday to discuss a response to the overnight surge in oil prices caused by US-Israeli war in Iran.
International news on Gold FM.
US President Donald Trump says military operations against Iran are ahead of schedule, but he does seem a tad confused. Speaking at a press conference, the president confirmed that 90% of Iran's missile launchers and its entire naval and air forces are destroyed.
And some people could say they're pretty well complete. We've wiped every single force in Iran out very completely. Most of Iran's naval power has been sunk. It's on the bottom of the sea. It's almost 50 ships. I was just notified it's 51 ships. I didn't know they had that many. Didn't last very long. And these are fighting vessels. They're meant to fight, but they're not meant to fight against us. We continue to target Iran's drone and missile capabilities. Their drones are way down. Their drone manufacturing's been hit starting today. We know all of the places they manufacture the drones, and they're being hit one after another. Their missile capability is down to about 10%, maybe less. We're also hitting where they make missiles and where they deliver missiles. We've struck over 5,000 targets to date, some of them very major targets, and we've left some of the most important targets for later in case we need to do it. We're ahead of our initial timeline by a lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here.
He also went on to say that Iran should replace its 47-year-old system which has killed people.
So we think they should put a president in, or the head of the country in, that's going to be able to do something peacefully for a change. They've been doing this for 47 years, killing people for 47 years. Whether it's the barracks or even the SS Cole, where they were involved very strongly, they always denied it, but where they were very strongly involved in all of the people that died through the roadside bombs. The Iranian regime has been attacking Americans and spreading terror for 47 years, and despite these countless opportunities to renounce their nuclear ambitions, which they had just a short while ago, they told Mr. Witkoff, who is standing right over here, they actually said, we want to keep building. Essentially, in a real nutshell, we want to continue to build nuclear weapons. If we didn't knock out Midnight Hammer, if we didn't knock out their Iranian potential, if we didn't do that with Midnight Hammer, they would have had a nuclear weapon. They would have used it long before now.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Disney Plus announced that a new live-action version of the iconic character Tinker Bell remains a high priority for the streaming service. Writers Reese Helsden and Bridget Carpenter joined the project, titled Tink, as executive producers to develop the latest iteration of the story.
Sports News on Gold FM.
Former South African superstar Gary Kirsten takes over as the new head coach of the Sri Lankan national cricket team for a 2-year term starting on the 15th of April 2026. The veteran coach previously guided India to a 2011 World Cup victory and led South Africa to the world number 1 ranking during his tenure from 2011 to 2013. That's all the news for now. Stay tuned to Gold FM for the latest updates.